Hello, everybody. Hey, I'm Ed Parcaut. I'm here with Francisco Ruvalcaba Jr. You just don't like to put that junior on anymore?
I know. I got to keep throwing it in.
Yeah,
I'm
because everybody
mistaken.
looking for your dad or
Yeah,
somebody.
that's what happened when I got my license.
Oh, really?
It was all mistaken. But yeah, I
Because
know. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I think we were talking before we decided to go live about expectations,
Mhm.
right? And I also want to talk about what are you willing to remember that you're not going to get 100% of what you want when you're buying a house, no matter
Right.
when it is.
Yeah, that's a great addition to it as well. Saying no matter when it is, because it doesn't matter even for a lot of people whether you're buying your first time home. Because granted, for a lot of people, the first home, I mean, yeah, there are quite a few cases where people like actually stay there like for forever or for like a really elongated period of time. But for the most part, that starter home, you're mostly there for like maybe 2-3 years, and then it helps you really move on to the next home. And kind of something we were talking about on the last show is, no matter what, when you buy a house and you're planning on refining and everything, you know the hit initially, it feels really big, but then after a few years and after you've been doing it and then you refi and the payment gets better and better, it feels great. And then at that point, people are going to be like, man, I can't find a place to rent or buy for less than 2,000, 2,500 bucks, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then at that point, you're going to be refinanced to a point where you're coasting at a nice number. um
Yeah, and just people are just we talked about I think on Tuesday about pain points and people are just it's easier to do nothing than to do something right now. And and that's it takes the right person to understand this is a huge opportunity right now for prices of homes and what you can get, you know. A lot of times people go, well, it's not that my house, I want to live it forever. Well, I bought a house in 2002 up here, which was my first home up here. And then I got remarried and we moved into her house off of Keepsake and we remodeled that one, put a pool in and lived there for 10 years or more. I forget how long we lived there. And then we went back to my Brady house and now we're making that one our house. You follow me, fixing it up the way it needed to. You're going to have to make changes to every house. You want to make sure you buy where you want to live. It
right.
doesn't have to be the perfect house. You can always make changes to it. You can always put a pool in. You can always change the bathrooms. You can change everything in the house. But you have to be okay with where you're buying and what you're looking at. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, location is a big driving factor too.
Yeah. Buy
For
the littlest house in the best neighborhood, always,
Yeah,
if possible.
and even from there, you can consider, depending on how everything is, I mean, nowadays doing additions or whatever it may be, but even then, sell it or keep it as a rental property and then move on to the next one. Like there's a lot of different avenues to take, but it's like I've told everybody, is if you have the opportunity to start and you are qualified and you can go out there and you can afford a payment, do it as soon as possible. you know because like I've said time and time again, I've seen people that are ready at one point, they wait months or a year, years, and then they're just at a stage where they can't buy or do anything anymore. And people get priced out like that. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And it's because people doubt themselves.
Hmm.
They don't think that they can do it.
Well, again, it's that whole pain point thing. It's just easier to do nothing, but they'll go out and get an 800 a month payment for their car
Right.
or
No.
1,200 a month.
And that's another big thing that, like even for me, right? Like when I start, I'm still driving, my 2014 Camry, right? But I have a nice investment property. It's a duplex, and I'm getting good rental income off of it, and I'm fine with driving my Camry as long as I get to go home to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it feels a lot better, and for a lot of people, that's where I've kind of said too, and sometimes you kind of have to tread lightly. Some people you don't exactly want to tell them how to live their life, but there are at times, simple lifestyle changes that you can really do that will help put you in a much better position, later on in life. And I've had those talks with some clients where, I kind of tell them, I mean, hey, I try to put it in a way where I let them understand. I'm not trying to tell them what to do, but it's more so like even my personal experience. Like I used to go crazy on Amazon buying the dumbest things you could ever think of. Like you don't need, a just whatever it was. And when I bought my house, you really start being more conscious of how you're spending your money. Obviously when you know what has to be paid at the end of the month, it drives you and kind of helps you manage everything a lot better.
I agree. And you need a budget. Because a lot of people are like, well, you need to budget before. It's not, you keep saying that FHA says that you can afford this. Yes, we have max ratios. Not necessarily do you want to be there, but you might want to just look at what you can cut in your budget to make it easier for you to afford that payment. And that's another thing. It's like we have a young guy who was looking at buying, and he's like, well, the payment's a little high. Well, rent out a room. Right? You're single, you have nothing else going on. Go get a freaking get a couple of those uh shipping containers, turn them into one bedrooms, little baths in the backyard, connect to your sewer line and everything else. ADUs, put a few of those in the backyard, make a little fire pit back there, because it's where he lives, it's all it's dead grass, because it's not going to grow unless you put some water on it, and they don't put water on a lot of that stuff. There's so much you can do to benefit and get more rent off your place. It's not his forever home, it's his first home.
Yeah.
So turn it into amazing rental.
Right.
And those things don't have to get permitted, because those are not real structures.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's also, and it's a big piece of land too.
Yeah,
right?
I know. He could put a couple ADUs back there.
Yeah.
They can't stop you now.
No, and sometimes it's what it takes, right? Like, and I know obviously not everyone's in that position. Like some people, have kids or whatever it may be. But again, everybody's situation is different. But even if you're in a position where you have kids,
grandma
right.
grandma back there.
Well, there's always some way to make it work, but a lot of the times, again, I think you've said it best, where people are just they're in a state of mind where they just don't want to mess up. Yeah. And we get it. But shoot, I felt like that too, especially with what I was purchasing and everything, and I was taking on. I pretty much had to do a whole remodel on one side too. I knew what I was getting myself into, and it was scary. But you have
the knowledge as an agent. I'm just adding that in while you're talking, because I want to add that to that part. And that's what we're dealing with. People don't have that knowledge, and they've been talked to wrong by other people, or they're listening to people who don't own homes, and they don't understand what's going on. Nobody understands this market right now.
Right. And exactly like you said too, is that a lot of people are listening to the wrong people. A lot of the times too, when I'm helping guide somebody through everything, I'm not doing anything more than just stating like material fact, and just giving them numbers and showing them like analytics of like what is happening and how things are going. I get it. We don't have a crystal ball, but from what we can see, historically and everything like that. And at the end of the day, all you have to really do to understand where we're at is just look at our numbers of inventory. That in itself is such a big indicator that should help you, really understand and see that this market is not going anywhere. It seems like it's unhealthy or whatever it may be, but we're steadily, still moving forward on a lot of transactions.
Right. And you got to remember, since 1940-ish, we've had 73 years up, 5 or 6 years flat, and then, 5 to 6 years down a little bit, right? They didn't really move much. And then, because it went down and then it stayed there. And then you had 1 year that didn't do it. That was flat. So we've had most years up. So you're not going to make a mistake by buying. But I think, again, it has to do with people and their payments. They're so focused on the payment, which is good, but you all cut some other stuff out. Right. Mm-hmm. I kind of had I want you to be on a budget to a certain point, have a budget put together, and do certain things, but be careful where you get that information from, because a lot of those places want you to cut up all your credit cards, cancel them to get out from underneath them. Well, that's good. If your credit's still good, don't do that. If your credit's bad, it doesn't matter. But if your credit's still good, just be careful cutting up your credit cards and canceling them, because you'll lose all that history of credit from it. Right? It's important to pay those down, but I'm just saying, be careful how you do it and what you listen to people out there.
Yeah. And that's why it's important to talk to you, because, and that's another thing
too. Them or me?
No, to you, to like Ed, because in that sense, he's able to help you like actually look into it and say, okay, this is the best route to take. This is what's going to help me get to my goals faster. And those are the kinds of people you need to be listening to, right? And again, I mean, even sometimes you go to credit repair, things like that, and it's costing an arm and a leg, and it's at the end of the day, it's still ultimately on you, right? So I think it's best to see it and hear it from a professional like Ed, who's going to be able to like also guide you and put you in a position where you can ultimately get the loan.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is just to help you, and that's to just make sure that you get in the right position, make your situation better, and it might take over time, but you can get there. But stop listening to everybody else out there. Just look at yourself and worry about what you're doing. If you can run the numbers and it works for you, then do it. Stop. Don't listen to other people.
Yeah.
And that's all I got.
No, same here. And it's as simple as really seeing it and just performing and acting on it. A lot of people, I mean, we've even had people who see it, act on it, and then back out, and they just spook themselves, I think, ultimately to like oblivion. But
Buyer's remorse.
right.
People are worried they're making a mistake. It's that whole thing. And if before, when it was cheaper than renting, there was no mistake. Now that it's more expensive than renting, that's why they're thinking it's a mistake. You follow me here?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the difference. They don't understand down the road future. Those 2 years were the worst things that could have happened to our industry and America.
Right. They just threw a curveball in for everybody.
Because we got such low rates because we were all going to die. And now it's messed up everybody thinking that's what the normal rates are. No, normal rates are 4 to 5.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody make it a great day. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. If you want to help support us, just go to our YouTube channels and subscribe and share us out. I'm Ed Parcaut there. It's Francisco Ruvalcaba Jr. and also Real Estate Jerky. You can get a hold of Francisco at 209-493-2400. Thanks, Francisco, for coming to the show today.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, everybody, for watching.